My sister mocked my vac job and threw me out of Thanksgiving for embarrassing her before lawyers. She never went to college, she said. Then her boss stood. Your sister is Olivia Turner? What he said next made her stagger. I'm sitting at the table in my parents' house, gripping my fork so tightly that my fingers turn white. Victoria just said it, just like that, as if she were talking about the weather. She never got into college. Her voice sounds light, almost cheerful, but I hear that note in it. The same one that always appears when she wants to humiliate me in front of someone important. 3 of her lawyer friends are sitting at the table, elegant, expensively dressed, with the kind of expressions that say they're used to judging people at first glance. One of them, an older man in his 50s with gray hair at the temples, is her boss. Victoria introduced him as Marcus Shaw. He is the owner of the law firm where she has been working for 4 years. I look at my plate of turkey, which my mother has been cooking since early morning. Thanksgiving, a holiday of family and gratitude. The irony is killing me. But first, I need to tell you how we got here. I am 31. Victoria is 28. We are like night and day, and always have been. She is refined, with good manners and that special sparkle in her eyes that people who know their worth have. I am a working woman. My hands are calloused, my hair is tied back in a ponytail, and my clothes are simple and practical. 13 years ago, when I was 18 and about to go to college, my father lost his job. Just like that, without warning. The factory where Ivan Vosnevsky had worked for 20 years announced mass layoffs. My mother, Mary, was working as a nurse at the local hospital at the time, but her salary was barely enough to cover the basics. I remember that evening. I was sitting on my bed in my room, holding the application form for technical college in my hands. Downstairs, my parents were arguing, quietly, muffled, but I could hear every word. Debts, bills, mortgage. The word bankruptcy was mentioned twice. The next morning, I said I didn't want to study, that I had found a job at a construction company as an assistant on site. Mom cried. Dad stared at the floor. Victoria was 15 at the time, and she watched it all from the doorway of her room with an expression on her face that I still can't forget. Not pity, not sadness. Something else. Relief, perhaps. I worked in construction for 3 years. I carried materials, cleaned up, and gradually learned from experienced technicians. When I turned 21, my father found a new job, not as prestigious, but stable. The debts began to be gradually paid off, and then it was Victoria's turn. She entered law school, a prestigious, expensive one. My parents paid for everything, tuition, dormitory, books. I wasn't offended, honestly. I understood that they wanted to give her the chance they couldn't give me. But Victoria, she took it differently. She started looking down on me. At first it was subtle. Little comments about my clothes, my calloused hands, how I had wasted my opportunities. Then it became more overt. At family gatherings, she always found a way to emphasize the difference between us. Olivia works with her hands, and I work with my head, she said once at Christmas dinner. Mom reprimanded her, but Victoria just smiled. I met Ethan when I was 26. He came to the facility where I worked to set up an automation system. He was an IT developer, tall, with a nice smile and patient eyes. We started talking by chance. He asked if I could show him where the distribution board was. Then he asked me out for coffee. Ethan never looked at me as if I were inferior. He was interested in my work, asked about technical details, and listened attentively. When I told him about my idea, that I wanted to create something of my own, something that would change the approach to energy conservation in private homes, he didn't laugh. He said, "Go for it." We got married a year later. At the wedding, Victoria kept emphasizing that Ethan was just a programmer at some startup. My mom called her out on it, but my sister just shrugged. For the past 2 years, I've been working as an HVAC technician, installing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. It's hard work, but I like it. I understand how these systems work. I see their flaws. I know what can be improved. and in my spare time, I work on my own projects. Ethan turned our basement into a workshop. There, I draw blueprints, build models, and test solutions. No one but him takes it seriously. My parents think it's a hobby, something that helps me relax after work. Victoria openly mocks me. Olivia is playing inventor. She said last month when she came to her parents' house for dinner. But I'm not playing. I'm working. I believe that what I do matters. And here we are. Thanksgiving, November 2025. My parents invited us over for the traditional dinner. Victoria didn't come alone. She brought 3 friends from work. They have nowhere else to celebrate, she explained to my mother, who of course couldn't refuse. Marcus Shaw, Jessica Lane, a slender woman of about 35 with a cold stare, and David Clark, young, ambitious, with the self-confidence that betrays recent graduates of prestigious universities. Dinner began quietly. Mom served the food, Dad poured the wine. Ethan sat next to me, squeezing my hand under the table from time to time. Victoria played the role of the perfect hostess, even though it wasn't her house. I watched her laugh at Marcus's jokes, pour wine for Jessica, and politely answer David's questions. She was in her element, surrounded by people who respect her, who see her as an equal. I think about how she is 28 and already has everything I could only dream of at her age. A prestigious job, a circle of friends with the same ambitions, self-confidence that is evident in her every move. And me? I'm still proving something to no one, sitting in the basement in the evenings instead of living a normal life. Ethan says I'm talented. But what does that matter if no one else sees it? The conversation turned to work. Jessica talked about a complex corporate fraud case they had won last week. Marcus nodded, adding details about how they had found critical evidence at the last minute. Victoria beamed. She loves these moments when she can shine in front of her parents. Her father listened intently. Her mother asked questions. I saw the pride in their eyes as they looked at their younger daughter. Then David asked Ethan what he did for a living. Ethan explained briefly. Developing software for manufacturing automation. David seemed interested and started asking about the technical details, whether Ethan used artificial intelligence in his solutions. I could feel Victoria tense up. She doesn't like it when attention is shifted to someone else, especially someone on my side of the table. And my sister Olivia works as a technician, she said, interrupting the conversation. Her voice sounded light, but I could hear a note of contempt. Heating, air conditioning, all that stuff. She goes to people's homes and sets up the systems. Marcus nodded politely. A useful profession, especially now that everyone is thinking about energy conservation. Yes, Victoria smiled, and I saw the corners of her lips rise in that familiar, ironic smile. Someone has to do the job. Not everyone can be a lawyer or a programmer. I clenched my teeth. Ethan put his hand on my knee under the table. A reassuring gesture. He knows this dynamic. We've discussed it many times. Mom tried to change the subject by asking Jessica about her family, whether she had children, but Victoria wasn't finished. Olivia could have had an education, she continued, as if she hadn't heard Mom, but she didn't go to college. She went to work right after school. It was her decision. There it was, that sentence, uttered so casually, as if it were something insignificant. But in my sister's voice, I hear everything she really thinks. A failure, uneducated, inferior, the one who made the wrong choice and is now paying for it. Jessica and David exchanged glances. Marcus immersed himself in his glass of wine, as if trying to distance himself from the awkward situation. I look up and see Victoria. She smiles, subtly, almost imperceptibly. She knows what she's doing. She always knows. And now she's waiting for my reaction, ready for me to remain silent, as always. Ready for me to swallow my pride and continue eating turkey, pretending that nothing happened. But something inside me snaps. Maybe it's fatigue from years of humiliation. Maybe it's anger at myself for letting her do this to me over and over again. Maybe it's just the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Chapter 2. Scandal at the Table. I can feel my heart beating in my throat. Victoria is still smiling, waiting for me to remain silent. My father is twirling his fork awkwardly in his hands. Mom looks at me with an expression that says, "Please don't start." But Ethan suddenly intervenes. "Olivia is very talented," he says calmly, looking at Marcus. "She doesn't just install systems. She understands them at a level I haven't seen even in engineers with degrees, and she develops her own energy conservation projects." Jessica raises an eyebrow. "Really? What an interesting hobby." Hobby. That word again. "It's more than a hobby," Ethan insists. "Olivia is working on innovative solutions for geothermal heating. It could change the approach to energy efficiency in the private sector." Victoria chuckles quietly. Not loudly, not demonstratively, just a short dismissive note that says more than any words could. "Ethan," she says softly, almost tenderly, "it's sweet that you support your wife so much. But let's be realistic. Olivia turns screws in the basements of other people's houses, and in the evenings she plays with drawings in our basement. These aren't projects, they're fantasies. Something inside me breaks completely." "Fantasies?" My voice sounds sharper than I intended. "Victoria, do you even understand what you're talking about? Have you ever been interested in what I do?" She turns to me, and her eyes take on the expression I hate the most, condescending patience. "Olivia, I don't want to offend you, but what you do is a hobby. Maybe it's interesting, maybe even useful for you personally, but it's not a business, it's not a career. It's just a way to convince yourself that you matter." David coughs awkwardly. Marcus stares at his plate. My father opens his mouth to say something, but Victoria continues. "Look, I understand it's hard for you to accept that you didn't get into college, that you're working as a simple laborer while others are building careers, and that you've made up this story about being an inventor, about developing something important. But, Olivia..." She pauses, and I see her gaze slide over my face with something like pity. It's self-deception, and the sooner you admit it, the better for you. The silence at the table becomes deafening. Mom gasps quietly. Dad finally finds the words. "Victoria, that's enough." But I don't care what my parents say anymore. I look at my sister, and all these years of humiliation, years of silence, years of letting her treat me like a failure, all of it comes together in one explosion. "You want realism?" I ask, my voice trembling, but no longer from fear. "Okay. A year ago, I patented a modular geothermal heating system. It uses the natural heat of the Earth at a depth of 5 meters and distributes it through modular units that can be installed in any private home. Efficiency is up to 60% energy savings compared to standard systems. The patent is registered. The documentation is ready. This is not fantasy, Victoria. This is reality." I see her face change. First surprise, then disbelief, then something else. Something that looks like fear. "Patent?" Jessica asks again, and I hear genuine curiosity in her voice. "You mean an official patent?" "Through the patent office?" "Yes," I say, keeping my eyes on Victoria. "Official. Verified. Registered in my name. Patent number US 11,423,781. You can check." Marcus looks up, and for the first time all evening, I see genuine interest in his eyes. "Geothermal heating for the private sector," he repeats slowly. "A modular system. That's really innovative. The market for energy-efficient solutions is booming right now, especially after the new federal incentives for green energy." Victoria pales. I can see her trying to pull herself together to regain control of the situation. "Even if that's true," she says, her voice sounding strained, "a patent is just a piece of paper. Anyone can patent anything. That doesn't mean anyone will use it. It doesn't mean it works." "It works," Ethan interjects. "I've seen the tests." I helped with the calculations. We installed a prototype in our house a year ago. Our heating bills dropped by 54%. Olivia's system doesn't just work, it outperforms all the alternatives on the market." "Of course you would say that." Victoria turns to him, and there is a note of despair in her voice. "You're her husband. You're obligated to support her. You can say whatever you want." "I'm saying this because it's true." Ethan doesn't give up. "And if you had ever taken an interest in your sister's work instead of just mocking her, you would know that." Victoria stands up abruptly. Her chair scrapes back. "You don't talk to me like that," she snaps at Ethan. Then she turns to me. "And you too. You're both sitting here making up fairy tales about revolutionary inventions to justify your worthless existence. Your geothermal system." She pauses, searching for the words that will hurt the most. "Your geothermal system is a joke, the work of a loser who has never achieved anything in life. No one, do you hear me? No one is going to use that piece of junk, because no one trusts an uneducated worker who thinks she's smarter than real engineers." The silence that follows these words is heavier than lead. Mom cries quietly. My father looks at Victoria with an expression I've never seen on his face before, a mixture of shock and disappointment. I slowly get up. My hands are shaking, but my voice sounds surprisingly steady. "You know what, Victoria? Maybe you're right. Maybe my system will never make it to market. Maybe I really am a loser who makes up fairy tales." I pause, looking her straight in the eye. "But at least I'm trying to create something useful. Something that can help people. And you'll spend your whole life as a cheap suburban lawyer handling divorce cases and small claims. And in 20 years, you'll look back and see that you've created nothing, absolutely nothing except papers that no one needs." Victoria slaps me across the face. The blow isn't hard, but it's unexpected. I feel a burning sensation on my cheek, hear my mother scream, hear my father jump up from the table. Ethan is instantly by my side, pulling me behind him. "We're leaving," he says coldly, looking at Victoria. Then he turns to my parents. "I'm sorry, but we can't stay here." I grab my bag without looking anyone in the eye. Marcus, Jessica, and David sit frozen, as if in a theater where a scene that wasn't in the script has just taken place. I notice Marcus taking out his phone and quickly dialing something. Perhaps the patent number I mentioned. Ethan leads me to the door. I hear my father saying something to Victoria, sternly, disappointedly. I hear her start to justify herself, her voice rising to a shout. "She started it! She insulted my work. She called me a cheap lawyer." Mom tries to calm them both down, her voice trembling with tears. "Girls, please, you're sisters." But I'm not listening anymore. We step out into the cold November evening, and I feel the tears I've been holding back finally break through. In the car, I sob. Ethan drives silently, squeezing my hand from time to time. The streets fly by, decorated with holiday lights, an ironic contrast to what just happened. I see families in the windows of houses celebrating Thanksgiving the way it should be, together in peace. When we pull up to our house, I can't stop myself. My sobs turn into tears. "She's right," I say through my tears. "She's always right. I'm nobody. I'm worthless. Olivia." "No." I turn sharply to him. Don't say I'm talented, that I'll be fine. We both know the truth. I'm 31 years old. I work as a technician. I have a patent for a system that no one will ever see. And I will always be in the shadow of my younger sister, who has an education, a job, respect, who sits at the same table with lawyers and speaks their language. Ethan stops the car in front of our house and turns to me. "Listen to me," he says, and his voice takes on that rare firmness that I only hear at the most important moments. "What Victoria said isn't true. It's her fear. She's afraid of you, Olivia, afraid that you might become more successful than her. That's why she's trying to break you." "She doesn't need to try," I reply bitterly. "I'm already broken." We go into the house. I go straight to the bedroom, fall onto the bed, and continue crying. Ethan sits next to me, stroking my back, saying nothing more. He knows that words won't help right now. I think about how Victoria called my work a joke, about how she said that no one would trust a worker without an education, about how she hit me, about the look on my parents' faces. Shock, disappointment, helplessness, and worst of all, I think about how part of me believes her, believes that I really am a failure, that my patent is just a piece of paper that will never change anything, that I'll spend my whole life proving myself to people who have already decided I'm worthless. Ethan lies down next to me and hugs me. I press myself against his chest and close my eyes, hoping that sleep will bring some relief. His heart beats steadily, soothingly, and I try to synchronize my breathing with his. "I love you," he whispers into my hair, "and I'm proud of you." No matter what Victoria or anyone else says, I want to believe him. I want to feel the confidence I hear in his voice. But right now, all I feel is emptiness and pain. Ethan's phone vibrates on the nightstand. He reaches for it, looks at the screen, and frowns. "It's your mom," he says quietly. 5 missed calls, and a message. I shake my head. I can't. Not now. Ethan reads the message aloud. "Olivia, please call me." "I'm so sorry. Victoria went too far. Dad is very upset. We love you." Tears flood my face again. Love. What good is it when they never protected me from Victoria? When they allowed her to humiliate me for years, limiting themselves to mild remarks? But even through the tears, even through the pain, something else smolders deep inside, something that refuses to give up, something that whispers, "She's wrong. She's wrong, and you'll prove it." But right now, at this moment, that feeling is too weak to overcome the pain, and I just lie in bed, hugging my husband and try to believe that tomorrow will be easier, that this night will end someday, and I will be able to breathe again without pain in my chest. A heavy silence falls over the Vosnevskys' table. Ivan Vosnevsky sits with a gloomy expression, staring at the door through which Olivia and Ethan have just left. Mary wipes her eyes with a napkin, trying to hold back her tears. Marcus Shaw still holds his phone in his hand, staring at the screen. Jessica and David exchange awkward glances. They clearly regret agreeing to this dinner. Victoria stands by the table, her hands shaking. She tries to pull herself together, to regain the control that seemed so solid just 5 minutes ago. "I'm sorry," she says, addressing her parents. "I didn't mean to. She just pushed me. You heard what she said about my job." Ivan slowly raises his head. His gaze is such that Victoria involuntarily takes a step back. "She told the truth." His voice is quiet but firm. "You really do work in the suburbs. You really do small jobs. And that's okay, Victoria. It's honest work. But the way you treat your sister—" He shakes his head, not finishing the sentence. "Dad, I just told the truth." Victoria tries to justify herself. "She didn't get into college. That's a fact. Why can't I mention it?" "Because you know why," Mary interrupts, and there is a note of anger in her voice that Victoria rarely hears. "Because you know she gave up her education for us, for this family, so we could pay off our debts. And 3 years later, when it was your turn, she was already working and helping us pay for your education." Victoria turns pale. "That's not... I didn't ask her..." "No, you didn't." Ivan gets up from the table. "But you accepted it. You accepted her sacrifice as a matter of course, and instead of gratitude, you've been belittling her for years. For years, you've been making her feel inferior to you." Marcus Shaw clears his throat. Everyone turns to him. He's still looking at his phone, and the expression on his face has changed. Surprise has given way to something else. Excitement, perhaps. "Victoria," he says slowly, "your sister. Her last name is Turner, right?" Victoria nods, not understanding where he's going with this. Olivia Turner, and she patented a geothermal heating system. "So she says." Victoria can't hide the irony in her voice. "But that's just U.S. patent 11,423,781. Marcus interrupts her, reading from the screen. Modular geothermal system for private homes. Applicant and patent owner, Olivia E. Turner, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, registered 8 months ago. Silence falls. Even Mary stops crying. Wait! Jessica leans toward Marcus, looking at his phone. Is this the same Olivia Turner? Are you sure? Marcus slowly puts the phone down on the table and looks at Victoria. 3 weeks ago, I was approached by an investment group called EcoVenture Corp. They asked me to advise them on the legal aspects of a deal with the inventor of a new energy technology. I personally studied the patent documentation. He pauses, and Victoria sees his expression change. Something resembling respect appears. Your sister has developed a system that uses geothermal energy at a depth of 5 meters with modular heat exchangers that can be installed in stages. It is 58% more efficient than standard geothermal systems at half the installation cost. I've seen the technical reports, testing, and payback calculations. David whistles softly. And what does the investment group say? They want to start production, Marcus says, keeping his eyes on Victoria. There is interest from a major equipment manufacturer, Envirotech Systems. The preliminary terms of the contract call for a minimum of $1 million in the first year in royalties alone, plus an upfront license fee. Victoria feels the floor slipping away from under her feet. She grabs the back of the chair to keep from falling. That's impossible, she whispers. It's just a machine. It can't. It can, Marcus stands up. And it did. What's more, Envirotech Systems has been trying to contact her for 2 weeks. They want to meet to discuss terms, but it seems Mrs. Turner is in no hurry. Maybe she doesn't even know they're interested. Ivan and Mary look at each other. Their eyes show a mixture of shock, pride, and pain at the realization that they didn't know about their daughter's achievements. $1 million? Mary repeats quietly. Our Olivia? Your Olivia is a talented engineer, Marcus says, without a degree, but with unique practical experience and understanding of systems. Her solution is elegant, economical, and most importantly, realistic for mass implementation. Envirotech isn't the only company following her. I've heard that 2 other firms are trying to get in touch. Victoria sinks into a chair. Her face is white, her hands clenching the edge of the table. I didn't know, she mumbles. I thought, she never said. Maybe because you never listened, Even says without malice, simply stating a fact. Jessica gently touches Victoria's shoulder. Listen, this is great, right? Your sister is on the verge of great success. You can be proud of her. But Victoria doesn't respond. She sits staring into space, realizing the magnitude of what just happened. She publicly humiliated a woman who could be a millionaire in a few months. She called her a failure, a fraud, a joke, and she did it in front of people who now know the truth. I need to call her. Victoria grabs her phone. Her fingers tremble as she dials Olivia's number. Rings. 123. Voicemail. She tries again. Same thing. She's not picking up. Victoria looks up at her parents. Mom, you try. Mary takes her phone and calls voicemail again. She doesn't want to talk to us. Mary puts the phone down on the table. And I understand her. Marcus gathers his things. Jessica and David do the same. The atmosphere at the table has become too tense to continue dinner. Victoria, Marcus turns to her before leaving, if your sister contacts me about the Envirotech contract, I'll do everything I can to help her. But you need to understand one thing. What you did today may have consequences. News travels fast in our circle, and if someone finds out how you treated your own sister... He doesn't finish the sentence, but Victoria understands. Reputation. In the legal world, it means everything. The guests leave. Ivan walks them to the door, mechanically thanking them for coming. When the door closes, he returns to the living room, where Victoria is still sitting at the table and Mary is standing by the window. What have I done? Victoria whispers. Dad, what have I done? Ivan sits down across from her. His face is tired and aged. "You did what you've been doing for the last few years," he says quietly. "You humiliated your sister. Only this time, in front of witnesses, in front of people who now know who she really is." Victoria covers her face with her hands. She tries to collect her thoughts, to understand how she could have been so wrong. All these years she was convinced that she was successful and Olivia was a failure, that her degree, her job, her lawyer friends made her better. And now it turns out that Olivia has been building something real all this time, something meaningful, and she did it quietly, without bragging, without needing recognition. "I need to explain to her." Victoria gets up. "I'm going to her. Right now." "No," Mary turns to her. "Not now. Give her time. Give yourself time to understand how you really feel." But Victoria is already grabbing her car keys. She can't sit here. She can't wait. She has to fix this, somehow. The drive to Olivia's house takes 20 minutes. Victoria drives on autopilot, replaying Marcus's words over and over in her head. $1 million. Envirotech Systems. The patent. She parks near the familiar house and sees light in the windows. Olivia is home. Victoria gets out of the car, walks up to the door, and rings the bell. She waits. No one answers. She rings again, longer. Finally, the door opens. Ethan stands in the doorway, his expression cold. "Victoria," he says emotionlessly, "what do you want?" "I need to talk to Olivia," Victoria says, trying to peer over his shoulder. "Please, Ethan." "I need to explain to her." "Explain what?" His voice is harsh. "That you didn't mean to hurt her? That it was a mistake? That you don't really think she's a failure?" Victoria swallows the lump in her throat. "I didn't know. About the patent, about the contract. If I had known." "If you had known, would you have acted differently?" Ethan smiles, but there is no warmth in his smile. "So what does that mean, Victoria? That people can be treated like trash until it turns out they're successful? That respect has to be earned with money?" Victoria takes a step back. She's never seen Ethan like this before. Cold, uncompromising. "No, I didn't mean that," she tries to find the right words. "I just want to apologize. To tell her I'm sorry." "She doesn't need your apology." Ethan holds the doorknob, ready to close the door. "Not now. Maybe never." "Ethan, please." Victoria feels tears welling up in her eyes. "She's my sister. I can't just—" "You could have mentioned it earlier." He takes a step back. "Goodbye, Victoria." The door closes. Victoria stands in the doorway, staring at the closed door. She raises her hand to knock again, but stops. Inside the house, she hears muffled voices. Ethan says something, then Olivia's voice, quieter. Victoria can't make out the words, but she can hear the intonation. Pain, exhaustion, unwillingness to see her. Victoria returns to her car. She gets behind the wheel, but doesn't start the engine. She sits in the dark, looking at the lit windows of her sister's house, and realizes that she has lost something important, something she may never be able to get back. Her phone rings. It's her mother. Victoria ignores the call. Then a message comes from her father. "Where are you?" "Come home." But Victoria doesn't go home. She starts the car and drives into the night, not knowing where she just needs to move, think, try to understand how her life has been turned upside down in one evening. She thinks about Marcus, about how he looked at her after the truth came out, about Jessica and David, who witnessed her humiliation, about how tomorrow, when they come to work, this story might spread. And she thinks about Olivia, about how her sister endured years of humiliation, how she worked silently on her invention, how she never bragged, never demanded recognition. She just did her job. And Victoria? She had spent her whole life building her self-esteem on comparison, on the fact that she was better than Olivia, more educated, more successful, more respectable. And now it turns out that it was all an illusion. Victoria stops by the road, puts her head on the steering wheel, and cries. She cries not because Olivia turned out to be successful. She cries because she realizes that she lost her sister long before this dinner, and that it may be too late to change anything. The call from Marcus Shaw comes 2 days after Thanksgiving. I'm sitting at the site adjusting the ventilation system in a new building when my phone vibrates in my pocket. Unknown number. I don't usually take these calls, but something compels me to answer. Olivia Turner? The man's voice sounds professional but friendly. This is Marcus Shaw. Your sister's boss. We met at your parents' dinner party. I tense up involuntarily. The last thing I need is to talk about that disastrous dinner party. I remember, I say curtly. How can I help you? He pauses for a moment as if choosing his words. Mrs. Turner, I'm not calling about that incident. Although I do regret that it happened, I'm calling on business. It's about your patent, the modular geothermal system. My heart skips a beat. What exactly? I advise an investment group called Eco Venture Corporation. They've been trying to contact you through official channels for 3 weeks, but it seems you haven't received their messages. There's a company called Envirotech Systems that's very interested in manufacturing your system. They want to meet with you to discuss licensing terms. I sit down on a toolbox. My head is spinning. Are you serious? Absolutely, he says with a smile in his voice. Mrs. Turner, your design is exactly what the market needs right now. Envirotech is willing to discuss a preliminary contract for $1 million in the first year, plus an initial license fee. If you're interested, I can set up a meeting. I can't breathe. $1 million. This can't be true. Yes, of course. I'm interested. Great. I'll email you the details. And, Mrs. Turner? Yes? What you've created is truly impressive. Regardless of what anyone else may think, I get the hint. He's talking about Victoria, about how she called my work a joke. When the call ends, I sit there in the construction dust, unable to believe what just happened. $1 million, a contract, production. I call Ethan. He answers on the first ring. Levy? What's going on? Marcus Shaw called me, I say, my voice shaking with excitement. Envirotech Systems wants to buy a license for my system. Ethan, there's $1 million contract. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, I'm coming over. Where are you? Ethan arrives 15 minutes later. We sit in his car and he holds my hands while I recount my conversation with Marcus. Is this real? I ask. Is this really happening? It's real. He kisses me on the forehead. You deserve this, Livy. You've worked so hard. The next few days are a whirlwind. Marcus sends me the contact details of an Envirotech representative, a woman named Carol Vance, Vice President of Innovation. We schedule a meeting for the following week. I am to present my system, show the documentation, and discuss the terms. I am excited and scared at the same time. This is my chance. A chance to prove to everyone, especially Victoria, that I'm not a failure, that I've created something valuable. Ethan helps me prepare. In the evenings, we sit in the basement, review the drawings, and refine the presentation. He asks questions that Envirotech might ask and helps me formulate answers. My parents call several times. My mother cries, apologizes for Victoria, says they are proud of me. My father is more concise, but I can hear the pain in his voice. They didn't know. All these years, they didn't know I was building something real. I'm not angry with them. I'm just tired. Tired of proving my worth. Victoria doesn't call. At least, not me. But a week after that dinner, Ethan tells me something that makes me sit up and take notice. A colleague of mine saw Victoria downtown, he says over dinner. She went into the Patterson and Lee office. They're patent lawyers. I put down my fork. Patent lawyers? Why would she need them? Ethan frowns. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing, but he doesn't finish, but I understand. Victoria is up to something. The next day, I receive an email from Envirotech. They are postponing the meeting until a week later, due to the need for additional documentation review. No details. I call Marcus. Is this normal? I ask, trying to hide my concern. They're just postponing the meeting without explanation? Marcus is silent for a few seconds too long. Mrs. Turner, I'll find out what's going on. I'll let you know. He calls back an hour later. Someone sent an anonymous letter to Envirotech, he says, and I hear restrained anger in his voice. It claims that your patent has technical errors, that the system hasn't been properly tested, that you're not qualified for a project like this. The blood drains from my face. Who? The letter is anonymous, but it was sent from a law firm, Patterson and Lee, Victoria. I hang up and just sit there, staring at the wall. She did this. My own sister is trying to ruin my chance. Ethan walks into the room and sees the look on my face. What happened? I tell him. I see his jaw clench. She's gone too far, he says quietly. Lee, this isn't just a family quarrel. This is sabotage. What should I do? I ask helplessly. How can I prove the letter is a lie? We'll gather all the evidence, Ethan says, already thinking ahead. All the test reports, all the calculations, all the confirmations from independent experts. We'll show Envirotech that your system is flawless. We work nonstop for the next few days. I pull out all the documents I've collected over the years, prototype test reports, efficiency calculations, letters from engineers who reviewed my work and confirmed its viability. But something else is happening at the same time. My parents call. First my mom. Olivia, sweetheart, her voice is anxious. Victoria says you're taking a risk, that this company could cheat you, that you need an experienced lawyer to review the contract. I grit my teeth. Mom, I have Marcus Shaw. He's an experienced lawyer. Yes, but Victoria says... She says Marcus may have a conflict of interest, that he's being paid by that investment group, that he may not protect your interests. I understand what's going on. Victoria is sowing doubt. She's using my parents to get to me. Mom, trust me. I know what I'm doing. But a day later, Dad calls. Olivia, he says cautiously, as if treading on a minefield. Mom and I are worried. It's a lot of money, a lot of responsibility. Maybe Victoria is right. Maybe you need someone who understands these things better. Someone like Victoria? I can't hold back the irony. She's your sister. She wants to help you. Dad, I say, my voice trembling with restrained anger. Victoria doesn't want to help me. She wants to stop me. Because she can't accept that I might be more successful than her. Silence on the other end. Then, don't talk about your sister like that. She... What, Dad? She what? Loves me, cares about me. She's been putting me down for years. And now she's trying to destroy the only opportunity I have. I hang up the phone. My hands are shaking. Ethan hugs me from behind. They don't understand, he whispers. They don't see what she's doing. But the worst is yet to come. 2 days later, Marcus calls again. Mrs. Turner, we have a problem, he says, his voice tense. Envirotech has received another document. It appears to be an expert opinion from an engineer who claims to have found a critical error in your system, an error in the heat exchange calculations. My heart skips a beat. What error? There are no errors. I know. I checked the report with our technical expert. It's data manipulation. Someone deliberately misinterpreted your calculations to create the impression of an error. But Envirotech now wants an independent review before continuing negotiations. I sink into a chair. The circle is closing in on me. Victoria isn't just trying to hurt me. She's hiring people, fabricating evidence. How long will the review take? I ask quietly. A week, maybe 2, but Mrs. Turner, there's another problem. This campaign against you, it's damaging your reputation. Other companies that might be interested in your technology are now hearing these rumors. They're hesitating. I close my eyes. Victoria isn't just ruining this one deal. She's ruining all my opportunities. In the evening, I sit in the basement, looking at the blueprints of my system. Years of work. Hundreds of hours of calculations, testing, improvements, and all of it could fall apart because of one person's jealousy. Ethan finds me there. "We won't give up," he says firmly. "We'll gather evidence against these false expert reports. We'll show Envirotech that this is sabotage." "What if there's not enough time?" I ask. "What if they lose interest? Then we'll find another company, or we'll start production ourselves. But we won't let Victoria win." I look at my husband, at his determination, at his faith in me, and I feel something inside me harden. Victoria wants war? She'll get it. The next morning, I call Marcus. "I want to find out who sent that expert opinion," I say, "and I want to prove that it's fabricated. What do I need to do that?" Marcus is silent for a moment, then says, "You need your own expert. An independent one with an impeccable reputation. Someone Envirotech can't ignore." "Find him," I say. "I'll pay whatever it takes." It could be expensive. I don't care. I won't let her destroy my work. I hang up the phone and look at Ethan. He smiles, for the first time in days. "That's the Olivia I like," he says, "a fighter." But inside, I don't feel strong. I feel fear. Fear that even if I prove myself right, the damage has already been done. That Victoria has already done enough to destroy my chances. And worst of all, I feel a deep, unbearable pain from the realization that my own sister hates me so much that she is willing to destroy my future. In the evening, I receive a message from my mother. "Victoria says you're angry with her. She says you don't understand that she just wants to help you. Daughter, please talk to her. She's your sister." I read the message and laugh, bitterly, without joy. Help she wants to help by sending fake expert reports. She cares about me by destroying my reputation. I don't reply. Instead, I go back to work, to preparing evidence, to fighting for what is mine. Because now I understand. It's not about money anymore. It's not about the contract. It's about not letting Victoria win, to prove to myself, to her, to everyone, that I am worth something. Even if it means fighting my own family. The independent expert Marcus found turns out to be Professor Richard Coleman, an authority in the field of geothermal energy whose articles are cited around the world. It takes him only 3 days to dismantle the false conclusion. "This isn't just a misinterpretation," he tells me on the phone. "This is deliberate distortion of data. Someone with a basic knowledge of engineering but no understanding of the depth of the process tried to find an error where there is none. Your system is flawless, Mrs. Turner. More than that, it's genius in its simplicity." His official conclusion arrives at Envirotech a week later. Marcus calls me the same day. Carol Vance wants to meet tomorrow. They're ready to talk contract. I drive to the meeting with Ethan. He takes a day off work to be there. We sit in the car outside the Envirotech office building, and I can't stop my hands from shaking. What if they still say no? I ask. What if the damage to their reputation is too severe? Ethan turns my face toward him. Then we'll find another way. But Livy, listen to me. You've already won, no matter what they say up there. You've proven that your system works, that you're a talented engineer. The rest is just details. The meeting lasts 2 hours. Carol Vance, a woman in her 50s with a penetrating gaze, carefully studies my presentation, asks tough technical questions, and checks every calculation. 3 of the company's engineers and a lawyer sit next to her. When I finish, there is silence. Then Carol smiles, for the first time in the entire meeting. "Mrs. Turner, I've seen many projects, but yours is special. You've done what large companies with huge budgets couldn't do. Create an affordable, effective solution for the mass market." She opens the folder. "We want to offer you a contract. The initial payment is $150,000 for the license. Royalties are 5% of each system sold. According to our forecasts, you will receive at least $1 million in the first year. In the second, significantly more." I can't speak. I just sit there, looking at the numbers in the documents, unable to believe that this is really happening. Ethan squeezes my hand under the table. "There is one condition," Carol adds. We want you to work with us as a consultant, help adapt the system for mass production, train our engineers. This is a separate payment, $50,000 a year. I find my voice. Yes, of course. I agree. We sign the contract in a week. Marcus personally checks every item, making sure my interests are protected. When I sign the last page, I feel the years of uncertainty, the years of doubt, the years of humiliation by Victoria, all of it receding. I did it. The news spreads quickly, first in professional circles. Industry publications write about the revolutionary geothermal system from an independent inventor. Then more widely, local news, then national media. Woman without an engineering degree creates technology that could change the energy conservation market. I read the headline in the Philadelphia Inquirer. My parents call. My mother cries with happiness. My father says he always knew I was capable of something. And I don't have the heart to remind him that's not true, that they didn't notice my work for years. But I accept their congratulations, because, after all, they are my parents, and they love me. They just didn't always know how to show it. I haven't heard anything from Victoria. A week, 2, 3. Then Marcus calls again. Mrs. Turner, I have something to tell you. His voice is serious. About your sister. I grip the phone. What happened? The story about the sabotage. It leaked. Someone at Envirotech told a colleague, who told another. Now everyone in legal circles knows that Victoria was behind those fake reports. He pauses. I had to fire her. I can't keep someone like that on the firm. It's a matter of the company's reputation. I feel something complicated, a mixture of satisfaction and pain. Did she find another job, I ask, although I'm not sure I want to know the answer. Yes, at a notary office on the outskirts, Marsh and Sons. It's, let's say, not the most prestigious place. They take people that no one else will take. After the conversation, I sit for a long time, staring out the window. Victoria has lost everything. Her job, her reputation, her friends. And I don't feel triumphant, only an empty, sad certainty that she did it to herself. She destroyed her own life with envy. Ethan enters the room. Did you hear? He asks cautiously. I nod. How are you feeling? I think about it. I don't know. Part of me wants to feel satisfaction, wants to say she deserved it, but mostly I'm just sad. Because she's my sister. And I remember a time when we were close, when she didn't hate me. That was before you became a threat, Ethan says quietly. I was never a threat. I just wanted my place in the sun. A month later, my parents invite me to dinner, alone, without Victoria. We sit at the same table where that disastrous Thanksgiving dinner took place. Olivia, my father begins heavily, we want to apologize. My mother takes my hand. We didn't see. All these years, we didn't see what she was doing to you. We thought it was just sisterly rivalry, that you were both adults and could work it out yourselves. But it was more than that, my father continues. It was cruel, and we let it go on. Because. He pauses, searching for words. Because we were used to thinking that Victoria was smarter. My mother finishes, that she had an education, so she understood things better. And we didn't trust you as much as we should have. I feel tears welling up in my eyes. I don't blame you, I say. You did what you thought was right. You gave Victoria an education when the opportunity arose. I'm not offended by that. But we should have protected you. My father bangs his fist on the table. We should have stopped her when she humiliated you. We are your parents, and we failed you. All three of us cry. We hug each other, and something in my relationship with my parents seems to be restored. Not to what it was before, but to something new, something more honest. How is Victoria? I ask when we calm down. My parents look at each other. She's coping, my mother says cautiously. The job's not bad. just not what she was hoping for. She still can't accept that she lost, my father adds. When we try to talk to her about what happened, she gets defensive. She says she just wanted to protect you from making a mistake. I smile bitterly. Even now, Victoria can't face the truth. Life is getting back on track. Envirotech is launching production of my systems in the spring. Initial sales exceed expectations. Royalties start coming in. Small amounts at first, then larger and larger. 6 months after signing the contract, I quit my job as an engineer. Now I am officially a consultant for Envirotech, working on new developments. I am invited to speak at conferences and write articles for industry publications. Ethan beams with pride. I told you so, he repeats constantly. I always knew you could do it. We buy a new house. It's bigger, with a spacious basement that I turn into a real laboratory. We talk about children. Maybe it will be time soon, but there is one shadow in all this light, Victoria. I sometimes see her from a distance at family gatherings, which she avoids when she knows I will be there. Once I ran into her by accident at the supermarket. She saw me and turned sharply away. My parents say she's changed. She's become quieter, more withdrawn. Her lawyer friends turned their backs on her after the scandal. Jessica and David no longer talk to her. Marcus Shaw ran into her on the street once and just walked by, as if he didn't recognize her. She works at Marsh & Sons, a small notary office on the outskirts of town where they do routine work, certifying documents, drawing up small contracts. It's a far cry from the prestigious court cases she dreamed of. One day, almost a year after that fateful Thanksgiving dinner, my mother calls me. "Olivia, your sister wants to talk to you." I clench the phone. Why? I don't know. But she asked me to ask if you would meet with her. Alone. I think for a long time. Part of me wants to refuse. To say that there is too much pain, too much betrayal. But another part, the part that remembers the little Victoria we were once close to, wants to hear what she has to say. Okay, I finally say. I'll meet her. We meet at a coffee shop on neutral ground. Victoria arrives on time, looking tired. Her clothes are no longer as elegant as they used to be. Her hair is simply styled without the care she used to take. She sits down across from me, and we are silent for a while. "Thank you for coming," she finally says. I nod and wait. I don't know how to say it, she says, twirling her coffee cup in her hands. Everything that happened, She falls silent, and I can see her struggling with herself. Part of me wants to help her, to give her the words, but I remain silent. She has to say it herself. "I envied you," she finally blurts out. "Always, even when it seemed like I had it better, even when I had an education, a job, friends. Because you had something I never had." "What?" I ask quietly. "Authenticity. You always knew who you were. What you wanted. You didn't play a role. You didn't try to please anyone. And I spent my whole life trying to prove that I was worth something. And the only way I could do that was to put you down." She looks up and I see tears. "I ruined your chance. I tried to ruin it. Because I couldn't bear the thought of you becoming more successful than me. And in doing so, I ruined my life. I lost everything. My job, my friends, my respect. And I deserved it. I look at my sister and feel emptiness. Not anger, not satisfaction at her downfall. Just a sad realization that she spent so many years hating me instead of building her own life." "What do you want, Victoria?" I ask. "An apology? Forgiveness? For me to say that everything is fine?" She shakes her head. "No. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I wanted you to know the truth. That it was never about you. It was always about me. About my inability to accept that I'm not the best." She stands up. "I'm happy for you. For your success. I want you to know that. Even if you don't believe me." And she leaves. Just like that. Without waiting for an answer. Without trying to justify herself anymore. I sit in the cafe watching her back recede, and I realize there will be no reconciliation. We will never be close sisters again. There is too much pain between us, too much trust destroyed. But maybe someday, years from now, maybe, we'll be able to be in the same room without this heavy burden. Maybe we'll be able to talk about the weather at family gatherings without mentioning what happened. Maybe. I call Ethan. "How did it go?" he asks. She apologized, genuinely it seems. "And how do you feel?" I think about it. Relieved. That it's over. That I can move on without this constant expectation of the next blow. In the evening, we sit on the terrace of our new house. Ethan hugs me, and we watch the sun set over the city. "Are you happy?" he asks. I nod. Yes, for the first time in many years, I'm truly happy. And it's true. I have a job I love, technology that changes people's lives, a husband who believes in me, parents who finally see my worth. Victoria is somewhere out there, in the shadow of her own mistakes, trying to pick up the pieces of her life. And I miss her, the sister she could have been. But I will no longer let her choices affect my happiness. Each of us has chosen our own path. I chose creativity, perseverance, and belief in myself despite everything. She chose envy, sabotage, and destruction, and now we are both reaping the rewards. My phone vibrates. A message from Carol Vance at Envirotech. Sales this month exceeded the forecast by 30%. Your system is changing the market. Congratulations. I show the message to Ethan. He kisses me on the temple. "I always knew," he whispers, "that you were made for great things." And as the sun sets below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, I smile. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not thinking about what anyone thinks of me. I'm not proving my worth. I'm not fighting for recognition. I'm just living, building, creating. And that's enough.